Have you ever noticed that there comes a point where money stops being a daily source of stress? Not rich, not financially independent, just comfortable enough that every unexpected expense doesn't feel like a crisis. For most people, that turning point isn't $1 million. It isn't even six figures. In fact, it happens much earlier than most financial experts talk about. Today, we're going to discuss why reaching $20,000 in savings or investments can completely change the way you think about money, work, and your future. Because this milestone isn't just about the number itself, it's about what the number represents. When you're living from paycheck to paycheck, almost every financial decision is made under pressure. A surprise bill, a car repair, a medical expense, or even a few days without income can throw your entire budget into chaos. That constant pressure affects more than your bank account. It affects your mindset. You become focused on avoiding problems rather than creating opportunities. Instead of asking, "How can I improve my situation?" you're forced to ask, "How do I get through this month?" That's why the first major financial milestone matters so much. Think of wealth building like pushing a giant wheel. At the beginning, it barely moves. Every dollar saved feels insignificant. Progress seems painfully slow, but after enough effort, momentum starts to build. The first $20,000 is often the point where that momentum becomes visible. At that stage, you're no longer relying entirely on future paychecks. You have a financial cushion, you have options, you have time to think before making decisions. And that's where everything begins to change. One of the biggest benefits isn't mathematical, it's psychological. When you know you have money set aside, you stop operating from fear. You're less likely to stay in a terrible job simply because you need next week's paycheck. You're more willing to negotiate for better pay. You're more confident exploring new opportunities. You're able to make decisions based on long-term benefits instead of short-term survival. This shift is difficult to measure, but it can be more valuable than the money itself. Then there's the power of growth. During the journey to your first $20,000, nearly all the progress comes from your own effort. You're saving, budgeting, and making sacrifices, but once that money is invested, it starts contributing to the process. Your savings begin generating returns. Those returns generate their own returns. And over time, the amount earned from your investments becomes larger and larger. The fascinating part is that each financial milestone becomes easier to reach than the previous one. Not because you're working harder, but because your money has started working alongside you. That's when wealth building stops feeling impossible and starts feeling predictable. Another major change happens in the way you view spending. People with little financial breathing room often spend enormous amounts of energy worrying about small purchases. A few dollars here, a few dollars there. But once you establish a solid financial foundation, you begin focusing on the decisions that truly shape your future, your income, your housing costs, your investment strategy, your career growth. These choices have a far greater impact on long-term wealth than skipping the occasional coffee. You also begin to understand opportunity cost on a deeper level. Every major purchase is no longer just about whether you can afford it. It's about what you're giving up in exchange. That expensive car isn't just a monthly payment. It's money that could have been invested. A larger house isn't just more space. It's potentially years of additional financial obligation. This doesn't mean you stop enjoying life. It simply means you're making intentional choices instead of emotional ones. Perhaps the most important benefit of reaching $20,000 is freedom. Freedom to walk away from situations that don't serve you. Freedom to take calculated risks. Freedom to handle emergencies without panic. Freedom to think about the future instead of constantly reacting to the present. No, $20,000 won't make you wealthy overnight, but it can become the foundation that everything else is built upon. It's the point where money shifts from being a source of stress to becoming a tool, and once that shift happens, your entire financial journey starts to look different. The goal isn't the number itself. The goal is becoming the kind of person capable of reaching it. No, $20,000 won't make you wealthy overnight. Because if you can build the habits required to save your first $20,000, you've already developed the skills needed to build far more. And that's when the real wealth building journey begins. But there's something else that happens once you reach this point that most people never expect. The money starts becoming less important than the confidence it creates. Think about it. Before building your savings, every financial decision feels urgent. Every purchase needs to be justified. Every unexpected expense feels personal. Every setback feels like proof that you're falling behind. But once you've built a meaningful financial cushion, you begin to trust yourself. You trust that you can handle problems when they appear. You trust that a single bad month won't destroy years of progress. You trust that your future isn't hanging by a thread. And that confidence changes the way you move through life. The interesting thing about financial confidence is that it tends to spill over into other areas. People often think confidence comes first and success follows. In reality, confidence is frequently the result of keeping promises to yourself. Saving money is one of the clearest examples of this. Every time you choose to save instead of spend, you're sending yourself a message. You're proving that future goals matter more than temporary impulses. You're proving that your long-term plans are worth protecting. And over time, those small decisions build a powerful sense of self-respect. Most people underestimate how valuable that feeling really is, because the world constantly encourages immediate gratification. Buy now, upgrade now, reward yourself now. Everything is designed to convince you that happiness is always one purchase away. But people who build wealth eventually discover something surprising. The excitement from buying things fades remarkably fast. The new phone becomes normal. The new car becomes normal. The larger apartment becomes normal. Almost everything eventually becomes normal. Psychologists call this adaptation. Humans naturally adjust to improvements in their circumstances. What once felt exciting becomes part of everyday life. That's why chasing happiness through consumption rarely works for very long. The finish line keeps moving. The satisfaction never lasts as long as expected. Financial security works differently. Instead of providing a short burst of excitement, it creates a lasting reduction in stress. And reducing stress often improves your quality of life far more than increasing luxury. Imagine two people earning exactly the same income. One person spends nearly everything they make. The other consistently saves and invests a portion of every paycheck. At first, their lifestyles may look almost identical. They drive similar cars, they wear similar clothes, they live in similar neighborhoods. From the outside, nobody notices much difference, but internally, they're living completely different realities. The first person depends entirely on future income. If the paycheck stops, the lifestyle stops. The second person is slowly building independence. Every month creates a little more distance between survival and security. That difference may be invisible at first, but over time it becomes enormous. This is why wealth building often looks boring. There are no dramatic moments, no overnight transformations, no secret shortcuts. Most financial progress happens quietly. A contribution here, a deposit there, a year of consistency, then another, then another. Eventually, people look at the results and assume there must have been some special advantage. But what they're usually seeing is the accumulated effect of ordinary decisions repeated for a very long time. That's why patience becomes such a valuable asset. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish in a month. At the same time, they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. They want immediate results. They want proof that their efforts are working. They want certainty before taking action. But wealth rarely rewards impatience. It rewards consistency. The person investing modest amounts every month often outperforms the person constantly searching for the next big opportunity. Because consistency compounds, discipline compounds, good habits compound. And eventually those compounds become difficult to ignore. Another lesson that becomes clear after reaching your first major savings milestone is that income and wealth are not the same thing. Many people assume a high income automatically creates wealth. Unfortunately, that's not always true. There are individuals earning impressive salaries who still live under tremendous financial pressure. Every raise is matched by higher spending. Every increase in income creates a bigger lifestyle. The result is that despite earning more, they never feel financially secure. On the other hand, there are people earning far less who steadily build wealth year after year. They understand that what matters isn't just what comes in, it's what stays. It's what gets invested. It's what continues working long after the paycheck arrives. That's a powerful distinction. Because income can disappear, a job can change, an industry can shift, an economy can slow down. But assets continue providing value, they continue creating opportunities, they continue expanding your options, and options are incredibly valuable. The ability to say no is valuable, the ability to wait is valuable, the ability to make decisions without financial desperation is valuable. In many ways, building wealth is really the process of buying options for your future self. You're purchasing flexibility, you're purchasing freedom, you're purchasing peace of mind. That's why the first $20,000 matters so much. Not because it's a magical number, not because your life suddenly becomes perfect, but because it represents evidence. Evidence that you can save, evidence that you can stay disciplined, evidence that you can prioritize long-term goals, and once you have that evidence, larger goals stop feeling impossible. You begin to realize that if you can build $20,000, you can build 50,000. If you can build 50,000, you can build 100,000. And if you can build 100,000, the possibilities become much larger than you once imagined. Every major financial success starts with a smaller success that came before it. Every large portfolio started with a first contribution. Every financially independent person started with a small amount of savings. Every wealth-building journey began with a decision to think differently, a decision to act differently, a decision to stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment rarely arrives. The best time to build your future is usually the moment you decide it matters. And if you've already started, keep going. If you haven't started yet, start now. The amount matters less than the habit. The speed matters less than the direction. What matters most is continuing to move forward, because years from now, you'll either be grateful that you started building your financial foundation today, or you'll wish you had one more lesson that tends to reveal itself only after you've spent enough time building wealth. And it's a lesson that sounds simple on the surface but changes everything once you truly understand it. Money amplifies habits. That's all it does. It doesn't magically transform people. It doesn't automatically create happiness. It doesn't solve every problem. What it does is magnify the behaviors that already exist. Someone who manages money wisely with a small income will usually manage it wisely with a larger income. Someone who struggles with discipline often discovers that more income simply creates bigger financial mistakes. That's why focusing exclusively on earning more can sometimes be misleading. Increasing your income is important. In many cases, it's one of the fastest ways to accelerate wealth building. But income alone is never the complete answer. The real goal is creating a system that works whether you're having a good month or a bad month, a system that continues moving you forward even when motivation disappears, because motivation is unreliable. Everyone feels motivated after watching a great video. Everyone feels motivated after reading a personal finance book. Everyone feels motivated when they imagine a better future, but motivation eventually fades. Habits remain. That's why successful investors don't rely on willpower every month. They automate as much as possible. They remove unnecessary decisions. They create routines that make good financial choices easier. The less energy required to make the right decision, the more likely you'll continue making it. Think about brushing your teeth. You probably don't wake up every morning and debate whether it's worth doing. You simply do it. The habit has become automatic. Financial habits can reach that same level. Saving can become automatic. Investing can become automatic. Tracking expenses can become automatic. And once those behaviors become part of your identity, wealth building becomes significantly easier. Another mistake people make is assuming they need to understand everything before they begin. They spend months researching, comparing strategies, watching endless videos, reading countless articles, searching for the perfect plan. Meanwhile, years pass without meaningful action. Knowledge is useful, but action creates results. A simple plan followed consistently will almost always outperform a perfect plan that never gets implemented. That's an important principle to remember. You do not need to know everything. You simply need to know enough to get started. Then you improve along the way. This approach applies to almost every area of life. No one learns to drive by reading about driving forever. At some point, they sit behind the wheel. No one becomes physically fit by studying exercise routines endlessly. Eventually, they start training. And nobody builds wealth by waiting until they feel completely ready. They begin before they have all the answers. Then they learn through experience. That experience creates confidence, and confidence creates momentum. The other thing people rarely discuss is how valuable time becomes once you understand investing. When you're young, money feels scarce, time feels abundant. As you get older, the opposite often happens. You may earn more money, but free time becomes increasingly valuable. Responsibilities grow. Careers become more demanding. Families require attention. The calendar fills up. That's why investing isn't just about growing money, it's about purchasing future time. Every dollar invested today has the potential to work for decades while you're sleeping, while you're traveling, while you're spending time with people you care about. Your investments continue working. Few things in life offer that kind of leverage. Most forms of income require continuous effort. You work, you get paid, you stop working. The income stops. Investments operate differently. They create a bridge between today's effort and tomorrow's freedom. The earlier you begin building that bridge, the stronger it becomes. This is why comparing your progress to others is often a waste of energy. Someone will always have more. Someone will always appear further ahead. Someone will always seem to have started with advantages you didn't have. Focusing on that rarely improves your own situation. What matters is whether you're moving in the right direction. Progress isn't measured against other people. It's measured against where you were yesterday. Did you save more? Did you learn something valuable? Did you make a better decision? Did you move one step closer to your goal? Those are the questions that matter. Because wealth is rarely built through dramatic breakthroughs. It's built through thousands of ordinary decisions that nobody notices. The decision to save, the decision to invest, the decision to wait, the decision to remain consistent. Over time, those decisions compound into outcomes that seem extraordinary, but the process itself is surprisingly ordinary. And perhaps that's the most encouraging part. You don't need to be a financial genius. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to get lucky repeatedly. You simply need a plan and the patience to stick with it. The truth is that most people are far closer to financial stability than they realize. The challenge isn't usually knowledge. The challenge is consistency. It's continuing when progress feels slow. It's staying disciplined when nobody is watching. It's trusting the process long enough to see the results. Because for a long time, wealth building can feel invisible. You save, you invest, you wait, and nothing appears to happen. Then one day you look back and realize everything happened. The stress that once controlled your life has faded. The emergencies that once terrified you no longer feel overwhelming. The opportunities that once seemed impossible are now realistic options. And it all traces back to those small decisions you made years earlier. That's why the first $20,000 matters. Not because it's the finish line, because it's proof that the process works. It's evidence that your actions are creating results. It's the first major sign that you're moving from financial dependence toward financial freedom. And once you see that proof for yourself, it's difficult to go back. You start viewing money differently, you start viewing time differently, you start viewing your future differently. And that's when something remarkable happens. You stop chasing wealth simply for the sake of having more money. Instead, you begin building wealth for what it represents: freedom, security, flexibility, peace of mind, the ability to live life on your own terms, a life where opportunities are chosen, not missed, a life where money serves you instead of controlling you. And every great financial journey starts exactly the same way, with a single decision: the decision to begin, the decision to stay consistent, and the decision to believe that your future is worth investing in. So start where you are. If you found value in this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you might think, and it allows me to keep creating content that helps you make smarter financial decisions and build a stronger future. And if you're already on your wealth building journey, let me know in the comments. What's the biggest financial lesson you've learned so far? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.